In today's video we're going to be reviewing the Land Raider from the Space Marine Codex. Hello, welcome to the channel. Back from vacation, so we're starting on our reviews again. This time we're going to be reviewing the Land Raider and giving it a Planet 40k rating at the end of the video. So if you are new to the channel and you've yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button below so you won't miss out on any future content. We're dropping a video every couple of days, whether it's a review or some sort of tactical video. So sub below if you want to do that. Also, a comment at random is going to be shouted out every video. So today's shout out is going to go to Tim M for this comment here. So shout out to you, Tim. Okay, so the Land Raider. So we're just going to be doing the basic Land Raider today. This one's going to be costing you 15 power level or 265 points. It previously was 285, but the recent chapter approved has knocked it down to 265, thankfully. It's coming in the heavy support section of the Codex, so let's get onto the keywords of note. So apart from the obvious stuff, the Adeptus Astartes keyword, the chapter keyword, it's also got the smokescreen keyword, it's a transport, a Land Raider, it's got the machine spirit keyword, and of course it's a vehicle. So a bit of synergy with the stratagems and whatnot, which we'll go over later in the video. As for the datasheet, it's got movement of 10 inches, weapon skill 6+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 8, toughness 8, wound 16, attack 6, leadership 9, and a 2+ save. So these stats do degrade as you take damage to the tank, so when it gets between 5 and 8 wounds, it's just going to go to movement of 5 inches, ballistic skill 4+, and the attack goes to D6. When it goes to 4 wounds or less, it's only going to have a 3-inch movement, a ballistic skill value of 5+, and the attacks will only be D3. But overall the stats are pretty good. Pretty tanky, toughness 8 with 16 wounds and a 2+ armor save. What more could you ask for? As for the abilities, Angels of Death, because all Space Marine stuff have Angels of Death. So the combat doctrines in particular is going to be something that you're going to be looking at to get an extra -1 AP to certain weapons within your loadout. It also explodes if it's destroyed as it's a vehicle, and that'll be happening on a 6. If it does, any units within 6 inches, including your own, will suffer D6 mortal wounds, so quite a big explosion there. Then finally, it's got a transport capacity of 10 chapter infantry models, however Jump Pack, Wolfen and Terminator models will take 2 model spaces instead of 1, and a Centurion model is going to take up 3 model spaces. So what that means is you can only take 5 Terminator models or 5 Wolfen models, 5 Jump Pack models, or you're only going to take 3 Centurions within this Land Raider. Onto the Wargear. So the Land Raider is equipped with a twin heavy bolter and 2 twin las cannons. So the twin heavy bolter, 36-inch range, heavy 6, strength 5, -1 AP and 2 damage. So in the Devastator doctrine, which is turn 1, twin heavy bolter is going to go to a -2 AP. So pretty good for killing other Space Marine models because of that strength 5. You're usually going to be wounded on 3s, and 2 damage as well, going to remove a model. So perfect infantry killer there. Not so great against the Death Guard because that damage is going to go down to damage 1, but other than that it's pretty good. And the twin las cannons, you get 2 of those. It's got 48-inch range, heavy 2, strength 9, -3 AP, and the damage is D6. So you're getting 2 of those and it's 2 shots each, so that's 4 shots with this strength 9 las cannons. -3 AP is all you need. Damage is D6, a little bit unreliable. You do have a command reroll if you need to. These are going to get the extra -1 AP going into -4 AP in turn 1, the Devastator Doctrine. But this really is your anti-tank. And strength 9 as well should pretty much make sure you're wounded on 3s at all times. Now you could use it to pick off toughness 4 models such as Terminators, if you really wanted to do that. Now there is some Wargear options for this tank. So the first one is you can equip it with a Hunter Killer Missile. The second is you can equip it with a Storm Bolter. And the third is you can equip it with 1 Multi-Melter. So let's check those 3 options out. The first one, the Hunter Killer Missile, it's 5 points. It's a once per battle shot, so it's only 1 shot. Strength 10, -2 AP, and the damage is D6. So strength 10, again you're wounding vehicles on a 3+ there. -2 AP or -3 AP in turn 1, and again that damage is D6, a little bit unreliable. Command reroll is there if you need it. I would probably use this in turn 1 just in case you actually lose your tank without actually using this, but also you get the extra -1 AP in that turn as well, so you may as well use it there. You've got the range to do so. That second option is also 5 points, which is the Storm Bolter. 24-inch range, so only mid-range now. It's rapid fire 2, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. So within 12-inch range, you're going to be getting 4 shots. And in turn 2 and potentially turn 3, you can have it as a -1 AP weapon. So this is more of a light infantry weapon. Wounding toughness 4 models on 4s, and wounding toughness 3 models on 3s. That lack of AP and only 1 damage isn't going to be doing massive work. So yeah, only use it on the light infantry there, and the screens of course. Then finally the Multi-Melter is 25 points, so it's quite an expensive upgrade. You're getting 2 shots with it, it's 24-inch range, heavy 2, strength 8, -4 AP, and the damage is D6. And if you're within half range, which will be 12-inch, it's going to be D6 +2 damage. So it is a pricey bit of kit here, but because you're putting it on this Land Raider, it's going to be surviving for quite a lot of the game to ensure that you've always got those 2-shot multi-melters firing at all times, wounding vehicles on 3s or toughness 4 models on 2s. You're not likely to get the extra -1 AP because it's only 24-inch range, however it's already -4 AP anyway, you probably don't even need the extra AP, and that damage D6 at full range isn't the best, but if you get into half range it's not too bad. On to some stratagems. The first one that's coming from the Space Marine Codex is the Armour of Contempt. It's 1 command point. If you lose any wounds as a result of a mortal wound, on a 5+, the wound is not lost, so a 5+ feel no pain save against mortal wounds. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Depends who you're up against really. Then you've got Power of the Machine Spirit. It says 2 command points. Now because it's got the Machine Spirit keyword, until the start of the next command phase, the model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purposes of determining which characteristics it has in its profile. So if it's been wounded and it's on its 2nd bracket or 3rd bracket, you pop this stratagem, 2 command points, and it'll be treated as if it's on its first one, so it can move 10 inches. It's going to have a 3+ ballistic skill. Now the attacks don't really matter too much because it shouldn't be fighting. Maybe the other 2 stats are worth it to get those las cannons shooting correctly. After all, you pay quite a lot of points, so you don't want to be hitting on 5s with these las cannons. Then finally, you've got the smoke screen stratagem. It's 1 command point, as it's got the smoke screen keyword, and effectively it's going to be a -1 to hit your tank. Could be pretty good early game, especially if you've got an actual capacity in there. So some Terminators, for example, you don't want this thing exploding early before your Terminators have even got in. So I could see some use there for only 1 command point. As for some chapter synergy, so you've got the Dark Angels to begin. So if it doesn't move, it gets a +1 to its hit rolls, which means those las cannons are going to be hitting on 2s early game. Pretty good. And it can be given the Deathwing keyword for 10 points or 1 power level to fit it into that detachment. As for White Scars, it's got the Lightning Debarkation stratagem to move and disembark straight after movement. Can be useful. Then on to Space Wolves. It's just an alternative method of getting the Terminators in as well as the Wolfen, because Space Wolves like to use Terminators, and of course the Wolfen are their unique unit within that faction. Imperial Fist, they remove the light cover saves, and 6s to hit with those twin heavy bolters are going to be extra hits. So Imperial Fist will get a lot of joy out of that one. Blood Angels have got Lucifer Pattern Engines, which is a stratagem for a 6-inch auto advance instead of rolling for the actual advance roll. So again, if you've got a transport capacity in there, you don't want to be rolling a 1 to advance. That's if you are advancing, because that's going to prevent you from actually shooting. So swings and roundabouts for that one. Then Iron Hands, it's probably got the best synergy for the Iron Hands. The Wrathful Machine Spirit stratagem to reroll the hit rolls. It's going to have double the amount of wounds for the purposes of the stats. So it's going to very rarely be bracketed. It's going to have a 6+ feel no pain save, and of course all the Tech Marine buffs and whatnot within that supplement. It's quite a vehicle heavy chapter, so yeah, Iron Hands will be pretty good for that. Ultramarines can fall back and shoot, pretty good. This thing's quite susceptible to be getting caught in combat, so being able to fall back and then shoot could be key. Salamanders, they can reroll the room rolls, very good for your heavy weapons, so las cannons, multi-melters again. I mean, it's not likely that -1 AP weapons are targeting this toughness 8 tank, but you never know, mass fire could take it out. The fires are battle stratagem to throw out mortal wounds, not too bad on that one. Then Relentless Determination stratagem for that top ballistic skill during that phase. Then finally Immolation Protocols to shoot heavy weapons into combat without a -1 to hit penalty. So if you have been locked into combat by some melee unit, then normally it would be a -1 to shoot. You're shooting as normal. We've then got the Raven Guard, so they've got the Shadow Masters for the light cover saves if they're more than 18 inches away. And then finally Death Watch, so they've got the mission tactics. If you want to mix up the doctrines, you can do so. Probably don't need to in this case because the las cannons have got a good range, but the multi-melter perhaps, you might want to get the extra AP in the next turn or whatnot. And they can also reroll 1s to wound versus a set battlefield roll, which I think is actually massive for this type of unit because you're only really going to be missing on 1s, possibly 2s against the heavier stuff. So being able to reroll the 1s to wound is pretty good. Onto the unit synergy. We've already slightly mentioned this one with the Iron Hands, but it's the Tech Marine. It's got the Blessing of the Omnissiah, so at the end of the movement phase, it can repair your vehicle within 3 inches. It's going to be recovering D3 lost wounds per turn, and it's also got Awaken the Machine Spirits, which is quite a big ability. Any vehicles within 3 inches of the Tech Marine is going to get a +1 to the attack's hit rolls. So you're going to be hitting on 2s with all your weapons if you're at full stats. You can actually upgrade the Tech Marine to a Master of the Forge for 20 points or 1 power level, and all this really does is instead of healing D3 lost wounds, it's going to be a flat 3 lost wounds healed every turn, so it's effectively your apothecary for vehicles there. If you wanted to add an invuln save, you can do so with the Librarian using the Psychic Fortress power. It is a blessing, and it's going to be a warp charge value of 6, and it's going to give any units within 6 inches of this Psyker a 5+ invulnerable save. That's going to make the tank even tankier. So on to the summary, starting with the good. It's got 16 wounds, it's toughness 8 and a 2+ armor save. That's a very tanky unit. It's going to be very hard to take this off the board. The transport capabilities, particularly for slow units, are going to be really handy. So especially Centurions, because they don't have the deep strike ability and they're very slow. So that's something that if you want to get your Centurions in, or even halfway up the board, it's going to be really vital for them. It's also going to protect those kind of units from being focus fired on, because they of course can't be targeted while they're within the tank. I personally would just use strategic reserves, but you've got the tank as an option. And then there's great synergy with the Tech Marine, as already mentioned. As for the bad, it doesn't quite compete as a gunline option. When you've got other things such as Hellblasters, Devastators and whatnot, it doesn't really compete. Tanks at the moment in general aren't the best option right now. They've got the risk of being closed down without disembarkation, so if you are tied up and completely surrounded and you lose your tank, you do need to get the models that are inside out. They need to be an inch away from enemy models. I mean, there is a stratagem to get you out with the emergency disembarkation, but that's going to cost you command points. The other flaw to this is you can't actually shoot when you're inside the tank. It's not open topped and whatnot, and you can't also cast any psychic powers if you're in there, or grant any abilities or buffs for that matter. There is only 5 turns after all, so if you're losing 1 or even 2 turns while within the tank, quite a lot of the game lost. Then the units cannot charge after the Land Raider has just moved, so it is going to have to sit there for a turn, which isn't ideal really. Then the Land Raider itself isn't core, so it doesn't have that synergy as other units do. Again, Devastators, Hellblasters all being core. They can be very easily buffed with captains, lieutenants and whatnot. It's got no invulnerable save. Now it's not the biggest problem because it's got a 2+ armor save and it's toughness 8 anyway. Even a -3 AP weapon is taking it down to a 5+ armor save. To me that kind of is an invuln save, but it technically isn't. And then finally, it's overcosted. 265 points is just overpriced. You're effectively just getting 4 las cannons and a twin heavy bolter. You don't really need a Land Raider to get Terminators in because those Terminators have got deep strike, so they can be coming in turn 2 anyway. Okay, it is going to be a 9-inch charge, but they can still shoot as well. So right now the Land Raiders are probably not in the best place. They're just too pricey. So on to the rating. So today I'm going to be giving the Land Raider a Planet 40k rating of 1.5 stars. So guys, that's the review today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and a random commenter below is going to be shouted out on the next Space Marine video. Guys, thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.